Testing 1, 2. Check, check. Testing. Check 1, 2.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Krall, and I would like to welcome you all here today as we celebrate the life of our friend and our brother, Ken Hill. It's especially appropriate that we're here today in the place where Ken spent so many hours in recent years, whether working for the Scottish Rite, for Lodge 19, or any of the myriad of Masonic bodies that he was involved with. Ken was the epitome of a servant leader, that is, one who leads the craft through his service, not necessarily out front, but in his hard work. And so I welcome you all here today as we celebrate our brother, Ken.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, brethren and guests. I would be remiss if I didn't ask once more. Brethren, please tile your electronic devices. All non-Masons, please put your devices on silent. Thank you. Photos are encouraged if you so choose. We are gathered here today to celebrate the life of Kenneth Paul Hill, a member of Minneapolis Lodge Number 19, Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons. My brethren and friends, the roll of the workman has been symbolically called, and one master mason has not answered. He has laid down the working tools of the craft, and has been separated from the mortal part of his being, traversing the earthly plane to the place whence no traveler returns, where, ere long, we must all sooner or later arrive. As Masons, we believe it is a place where the supreme architect of the universe presides. Uniting all Masons, wherever they may be or reside, is a sworn belief in a great creator of all that exists. In our Minnesota lodges, we most commonly refer to him as God, or the grand architect of the universe. As a general statement about Masons, within our meetings, there are two forbidden topics. You could probably guess correctly that these topics are religion and politics. We are religious persons, but also believe deep discussion of religion is best left up to our places of worship, and our political convictions are for other settings or locales. The labors of our brother Ken Hill have here on earth ended. During his Masonic education, he learned to divest his heart and conscience of the vices and superfluities of life. He thereby fit his mind as a living stone for that spiritual building, that house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Strengthened in his labors by his faith in God and confident in his expectation of immortality, he has sought admission into the celestial lodge above, where the grand architect of the universe presides. Our brother Ken was born on the 29th of March, 1941. Ken started his Masonic journey on the 14th of January, 1970, in Minneapolis Lodge number 19. As an entered apprentice, he was presented with a lambskin or white leather apron. It is an emblem of innocence and the true badge of a Mason, more ancient than the golden fleece or Roman eagle, more honorable than the Star and Garter or any other order that could be conferred upon him. It reminds all Masons of that purity of life and rectitude of conduct so essentially necessary to gaining admission into the celestial lodge above, where the supreme architect of the universe presides. It was the first gift of Masonry to our brother Ken and serves as a reminder of his pledge. Ken was passed to the degree of a fellowcraft on January 28, 1970, where he learned about the orders of architecture and senses of human nature and the liberal arts and sciences of Masonry. Ken was raised to the sublime degree of a Master Mason on the 25th of February, 1970, in Minneapolis Lodge number 19. As such, he attained the highest degree of ancient craft Masonry and learned that brotherly love and friendship are the cement that binds all Masons together. Ken was installed as Master of Minneapolis Lodge number 19 in 1977 and was serving as our secretary at the time of his passing. And worth noting, he served as our secretary for 40 years this year. Ken was honored by his brethren to receive the Hiram Award on October 15th, 1995. The Hiram Award is a tribute of honor for outstanding service to Masonry. Continuing his search for more Masonic light, Ken became a member of Columbian Chapter number 60, Royal Arch Masons, and was advanced to the degree of Mark Master, inducted into the Oriental Chair of a Past Master, received as a Most Excellent Master, and exalted to the sublime degree of a Royal Arch Mason on April 3rd, 1976. The lessons learned in the degrees were diligence in work and unselfish and fraternal assistance in practical life, obedience to law and the responsibility of ruling others, to make his life to be a true temple and let its beneficent influence flow out to others, a firm belief in the being and existence of God, and its teaching a due reverence for his great and holy name. Ken served as high priest in 1985. Ken became a member of Minneapolis Council Number 2, Cryptic Masons, April 10th, 1976, beginning with the Royal Master degree. The council teaches the valuable lesson of useful labor on earth and a worthy end of life. An additional lesson is that of fidelity to a trust. He was installed as illustrious master in 1986. In the chivalric orders of Templary, he was made a member of the Order of the Red Cross, the Order of Malta, and dubbed and created a Knight Templar, the Christian branch of Freemasonry, in Zion Commandery Number 2 on April 24th, 1976. The lessons learned in the several orders of Templary are of the importance of truth, that we should possess of faith to receive divine truth, even though unaccompanied by physical evidence, and entitle us to that commendation of our divine teacher, "Blessed are they that have not seen and have yet believed." He learned about the great pilgrimage we are all making through life, and that we should all be ever ready to defend the weak, the innocent, the helpless, the oppressed, and do all that may be demanded by manhood and fraternity. He served as commander of Zion Commandery Number 2 in 1982 and again in 2006. Ken was elected and installed Grand Commander of Knights Templar of Minnesota on June 25th, 1994. He was also invested with the Knight Commander of the Temple from the Grand Encampment of Knights Templar of the United States of America in 1998. As an active Mason, Ken continued his search for Masonic light by joining the Minneapolis Valley of the Scottish Rite. On the 17th of September, 1970, he received the 14th degree and was presented with the ring of that degree. Its motto is Virtus Junxit Mors Non Separabit, meaning virtue has united us and death shall not separate. He received the 32nd degree on December 17th, 1970, when he became a master of the royal secret. The teachings learned in all the degrees of Scottish Rite Masonry is duty. Duty to God, duty to our country, duty to our neighbor, and duty to ourself. Ken joined Zurich Shrine, ancient Arabic order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine of North America in 1971, whose philanthropy is the Shriners Hospitals and Burn Centers for Children. He was a charter member of the Zurich 19ers Shrine Club. He became a member of Plymouth Chapter Number 19, Order of the Eastern Star, and served as its worthy patron in 1986. Ken was the last living past patron of Plymouth Chapter at the time of his passing. Plymouth merged with Robbinsdale Chapter Number 238 in 1996. The initiation ceremony of the Order of the Eastern Star teaches 5 important lessons. The lesson of Ada is the importance of fidelity to a spoken vow. We should be faithful to all our obligations to ourselves, to our friends, to our country, and to our God. The story of Ruth brings us to the lesson of constant devotion to a righteous purpose. We all have duties and responsibilities that come to us, and we have need to be steadfast, constant, and true. Esther's lesson is that of loyalty. We are all called upon to be loyal to ourselves and the best there is in us, loyal to our friends, our country, and our God. Martha teaches a lesson of faith. From her, we learn that a trustful faith is greater than knowledge. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. The story of Electa is of her generous hospitality and loving kindness to the poor and distressed. However, it is her motive that distinguishes her. Electa had learned and was putting into practice the second great law laid down by Christ. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. Let us all love one another. It is these principles that guide members of the Order of the Eastern Star. Ken served as Associate Bethel Guardian of Job's Daughters, Bethel Number 1, and Chairman of the Advisory Council for Camelot Chapter, De Molay. He also received the De Molay Cross of Honor and the De Molay Legion of Honor. He was invited to become a member of the St. Olaf Conclave, Knights of the Red Cross of Constantine, in October of 1987, and served as its sovereign in 2003. In 2007, Ken was appointed Intendant General for the Division of Minnesota, representing the United Grand Imperial Council of the Knights of the Red Cross of Constantine. He served in that capacity for 10 years. He joined City of Justice Tabernacle, number 67, Holy Royal Arch Knight Templar Priests in 1984, and served as its preceptor in 1996. On a side note as we go through this, Jeanette and family, if Ken was ever at a meal at home, or perhaps he had an aversion to green beans, this is why. To any non-Mason, we have an affinity for including certain side dishes in our meals, and we have done so for many, many years. Ken was also a charter member of Minneapolis Council number 34, Knight Masons. He was also a member of Knight Crusaders of the Cross, Minnesota Priory number 24, Knights of the York Cross of Honor, and held the title of Knight York Grand Cross of Honor. Minnesota York-Rite College number 39, and was a past governor and recipient of the Order of the Purple Cross. Minnesota Past Commanders Association, Royal Order of Scotland, Order of High Priesthood, Minnesota Council number 111, Allied Masonic degrees, and was a past sovereign. Also the Order of the Silver Trowel. He departed from our presence on Saturday, the 30th of July, 2022. In Masonic ceremonies within this country and many others, we often turn to the Holy Bible for comfort and guidance. Other parts of the world or other cultures may use a different holy book, but no Masonic lodge may conduct its business unless such a holy book is open on the altar. By doing so, we show respect for the deity each Mason worships. Most commonly used in memorial services is the 23rd Psalm. Ken really liked an interpretation written by Lauren Lang in 1996. Mark and I will present it to you in parallel, the original and then the interpretation or revisited.
The Lord is my shepherd.
The Lord's hand guides my life.
I shall not want.
All my needs are met in him. I need nothing else.
He maketh me to lie down in green pastures.
He makes me stop to rest in his beautiful world. He helps me seek good foods for my soul.
He leadeth me beside still waters.
He leads me to quiet waters and gives me time to talk to him,
He restoreth my soul.
to refresh my being.
He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake.
To bring honor and glory to his name. He guides my life on his righteous path.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
Even when I am brought near death,
I will fear no evil, for thou art with me.
there is nothing to fear, for he is with me.
Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me.
His word and will comfort my soul, easing the yearnings for the world.
Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies.
Even when closely surrounded by the enemy, I am safe. He cares for me.
Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over.
He showers me with blessings in abundance, even though I don't deserve his favor.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.
As long as I stay close to my Lord and focus on him, life will be good. His mercy will redeem my soul. He will bless my faithfulness. Because he loves me, he has wiped my slate clean, removed my sin from shore to shore. Because it is the only good, right, true, contented place to be.
And I will dwell in the house of the Lord
I will seek and dwell in my Father's house forever. Masons are not all identical craftsmen, and our skills are not all identical either. Some of us are quiet and unassuming. Others are vocal and outspoken. Some are very talented with skills of the actual building trades, and others are better suited to designing and planning. Yet again, some are best at directing the work. All are needed and have a necessary function in the work of a modern lodge, just as they were in ancient times when our ancestors were building monumental buildings and temples. But any man who has a belief in a supreme being who created us all can find a place in Masonry. We exist to help and serve those who wish to become better persons through the lessons of Masonry. Not better than any other person, but better men than we were before we became a brother in Masonry. Think about how this concept can apply to all the things we do. Masonic tradition holds that we represent the craftsmen in the biblical story of the building of King Solomon's temple. Just as this famous temple was built by the stonemasons of that era as a monument to God, so have we, those who work and learn with us, as well as our brothers who have gone before us, attempted to build the spiritual temple which exists within each of us to be as perfect in the eyes of God as we can make it. God's children, in our estimation, are to be builders of the world that will exist in the tomorrows of the future. Our brother whose life we are here to honor lived with that interpretation of his Masonry. My brethren and friends, the thoughts of this hour are and should be solemn thoughts. But they should not be heavy with the weight of woe, nor clouded with the dark grief of hopelessness. Rather, they should be solemn with the understanding of great ideas and deep emotions which occur when we are brought face to face with the realities that underlie our existence. And by knowing our Father in heaven, we will recognize the plans he has given to those who believe. There is a future. Daily we see the marvelous plan of the great Creator: grass, plants, flowers, trees, even weeds. They seem to wither and die in the cool and frost of autumn. Winter covers all with a blanket of snow. Hard to even imagine that on a day like today. Yet in the warmth of spring and its warm, gentle rain, all of nature begins to sprout and soon bloom again. A rebirth. This is testimony to the great plan of God that we, as his children, are also able to refresh ourselves in the warmth of heaven's sunshine. There we, who are faithful, will appear at the throne of God and be able to receive the great gift of eternity according to his judgment. Therefore, there really is no death. What seems so is simply transition. All that is beautiful, good, and true in human life is no more affected by the shadow of death than by the darkness that divides today from tomorrow. Our paths lead not to the grave, but through it. Immortal we are, and ever shall be. We look not to a different life, but to perfecting this one. In God's good time, we shall be raised by his eternal hand of love to that higher, fairer phase of life, of which this is only the preparation. What actually becomes our eternity is that taught by our personal and individual beliefs as practiced in our houses of worship. Our brother Ken has reached the end of his days with us here on earth. The slender thread which bound him to earth has been broken, and his liberated spirit has winged its flight to that land from which no traveler returns.
The chapter of Rose Croix is one of the four bodies of the Scottish Rite of the Southern jurisdiction of the United States of America. We present the 15th through the 18th degrees in Scottish Rite Masonry, which are known as the philosophical degrees. They are complex as they attempt to invest our members with a deeper understanding of religion, philosophy, ethics, and history. In the 18th degree, the Knight of the Rose Croix, we teach how the new temple can be found in the hearts of man and is where God is worshiped in spirit and truth. We learn how the cross is a symbol of life and infinity, and therefore immortality, the immortality of the soul. We embody the love the supreme architect or God has for all of us, a love that was truly shared by illustrious brother Ken and all Masons. The red rose is an apt expression of our affection and the symbol of the chapter of Rose Croix. It is an emblem of life, a memory of our departed brother, of our faith in God, of our hope for immortality, and our love for all mankind. Roses represent several things for us as Masons. Some of these we call on today. First is the first 3 degrees of Masonry in which we are taught about faith, hope, and charity. Second are the 3 great Masonic pillars of wisdom, strength, and beauty. And third, they represent our God, our family, and our fraternity. Jeanette, we present these roses to you to remind you of the love we shared with you for illustrious brother Ken, and that our love extends to you and your family.
The completion of the York Rite bodies is the Commandery of Knights Templar. It contains 3 degrees known as orders, which elucidate a Christian interpretation of Freemasonry. The Commandery has the distinction within the framework of Masonry of being founded upon the principles of the Christian religion and the practice of Christian virtues. The Order of Red Cross, the Order of Malta, and the Order of the Temple are directly structured upon the lessons contained within the New Testament. Thereby, the Knights of Malta and the Knights Templar trace their origins to the Crusades and the circumstances regarding the period of history surrounding the pilgrimages to the Holy Sepulchre. The Commandery is based upon the practice of the Christian virtues, moral values, and spiritual lessons. Members are urged to live their lives as Christian Knights. Membership in Knights Templar is open only to Masons who adhere to and promise to defend the Christian faith. Sir Knight Kenneth Paul Hill distinguished himself as one of our leaders by serving as commander of Zion Commandery No. 2 in 1982 and 2006. He also served as Grand Commander of the Knights Templar of Minnesota for the term 1994 and 1995. I ask that all Sir Knights who are members of the Commandery please stand. Please join me in giving a salute to Sir Knight Kenneth Paul Hill, a hand salute taking your time from me. Alas, Sir Knight Kenneth Hill, you will be missed. You may be seated.
The mortal part, or physical remains of our brother, are no longer with us, overtaken by that fate which must sooner or later overtake us all, and which no power or station, no virtue or bravery, no wealth or honor, no tears of friend or kindred can avert. This emphatically admonishes us that every one of us must, ere long, pass through the valley of the shadows, to be known on earth no more. We believe there is a new kind of life beyond this one, which is truly our reward. It is now as though we are standing on the shore of some vast ocean. A ship by our side spreads its white sails and starts for the blue horizon. Then, just when it hangs, like a speck of white cloud, where the sky comes down to mingle with the sea, someone says, "There, it is gone." Gone where? It is gone from our sight, and that is all. And so it is with our brother. He is gone from our sight, that is all. He will always be in our heartfelt memories till we meet again. And so it is, we believe, that our brother has gone to sleep at the end of life's storm and stress and has awakened again to a higher, nobler, and more glorious life in the warmth of heaven's sunshine of summer. Therefore, let us not selfishly mourn that we have been deprived of the companionship of our brother Ken, but rather let us rejoice for him. He has passed his probation here below. He is done with pain and sorrow, and he has gone to receive his wages in the celestial lodge above, where the supreme Grand Master of the universe presides and forever reigns. In a moment, I will ask our Masonic brothers to rise and assume our Masonic attitude of prayer. This is used as a symbol of the method a sheep herder would use when, after carefully searching, the lost sheep was found and needed to be returned to the flock. The sheep was draped over the shepherd's shoulders, and the legs were held firm. By kind hands and in this manner, he could assure a return to the flock. For those who are not Freemasons, please use any comfortable manner of showing your devotion to God while praying. Brothers and any others who desire, please rise. Let us pray. Gracious and merciful Father and Creator of all mankind, grant that we, your workmen, may be faithful to the tasks assigned to us. Strengthen the good in us, help us to master evil, and be ever ready to go to the aid of the distressed, so that when we come to the end of our earthly labors, we may merit your well done. Comfort, we implore you, the hearts that are heavy with sorrow. Befriend them in their loneliness. May the light of your love abide with them and grant them faith to look beyond this day to your heavenly kingdom, where sorrow is unknown, broken friendships are renewed, and unfinished tasks are brought to fulfillment. Amen. Please be seated. The evergreen is an emblem of our faith in the immortality of the soul. This reminds us that we have an immortal part within us which shall survive the grave and spring into newness of life in realms beyond the grave and shall never, never die. In loving memory, I will leave this with him. Not, alas, but a joyful farewell, Brother Hill, until we meet again. Brethren, would you please again rise? And let us pray. May the great architect of the universe always bless you and keep you in his loving arms and hands. May he direct our footsteps in paths of peace and love for all his world, that we may be his true followers, to serve him and our fellow beings, and thus perform his will. Amen. Would you please be seated?
I would be remiss to not thank all of those who attended, all of those who assisted in some way. I'm not going to name specifics because there are so many people that were touched by Ken and also served by and with him. And thank you for showing him your support today. Where can I begin? There are so many facets about this man. I have a few examples from my experience that I'll reference, and then the overall picture should be clear. My friends, the memorial service you have just heard was written by Kenneth P. Hill. As you can tell, education was extremely important to Ken. He presented this service on numerous occasions, each individually tailored for a brother who had just passed on. It's meant to explain the many and varied lessons of our gentle craft to those who know little or nothing about it. With Ken's consent and help, a version was made for my own father's funeral. It was an honor and humbling experience to be asked by Ken to prepare the narrative and planning for his service. Of course, I could and did augment the story with things that he wouldn't say about himself. Still, it's been a bit of a daunting task. But when he asked specifically, how could I refuse? After all the time we've spent together and all the things that he's done for me. I've known Ken since I was a boy, about 50 years now. He was my eldest brother's, or also known as my brother's, friend. He's a very serious friend. I can't remember the first time I saw him smile. He always seemed so staid about the matter at hand, no matter what it was. Later on, I understood that when he was in work mode, he seemed awfully solemn. Work was work, play was play, and not to be worried because he wasn't actually that serious. Also later on, I appreciated that Ken wanted things done efficiently. Anybody here surprised by this? Why was this? He was an extremely caring individual. He wanted whatever it was, be it Masonic degree work or how a piece of lumber was cut in a very specific way, to be done right. It had to be first class with capital letters, no exceptions, and done efficiently. As a personal example about his caring nature, not too many years ago, I was long-term unemployed. I mean years, with no or few prospects. Ken kept in touch with me in a brotherly and caring manner. I mean, every single day, without fail. It still makes me tear up today to remember his compassion and his concern. If he saw that you held some promise, he would nurture you to help develop you into your best potential. Many of us of varying ages have experienced that with him. And he always did so with integrity. Whence does that integrity come? From his Christian faith. How many of you, this will be a show of hands, when Ken got up to speak, heard him declare, "I'm a PK"? Okay? If you're not familiar with that term, it stands for preacher's kid. He was proud of that fact. It's evident that his trust was in God and his faith was well-founded. Though we never spoke about this phrase specifically, his life phrase could have been, bidden or unbidden, God is present. Another way it could be stated is found in Psalm 111, verse 10. To obey the Lord is the fundamental principle for wise living. All who carry out his precepts acquire good moral insight. He, God, will receive praise forever. A quiet Christian. It's evident from Daly's living that he believed and acted on Jesus' teaching of love one another. As stated previously by Rosecroix Master Quast, the cross is a symbol of life. As stated by Commander Namestick of Zion Commandery, Christian values, moral values, and spiritual lessons were enforced to Ken the Knight Templar, who promised to adhere to and defend the Christian faith. The Order of Knight Templar is the most personal, let me repeat that, is the most personally affecting degree of all Freemasonry. It makes an indelible impact on the recipient and serves to remind us of the sacrifice of Christ that he made for all, especially for believers. Ken was my predecessor and mentor in the state office for Knights of the Red Cross of Constantine, another organization that requires its members to be a Trinitarian Christian. Its lessons are about when Christianity in ancient Rome changed from being a despised heresy to the official religion of the Roman Empire. Ken proudly wore the cross of Constantine as another expression of his Christian faith. Perhaps the Apostle Paul described Ken's quiet faith best when he said in the letter to the Romans, "For I am convinced that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor height, nor depth, nor anything else in all creation will be able to separate us from the love of God in Christ Jesus our Lord." I've covered a few descriptive terms about Ken, the learner, teacher, caring, nurturing, shepherd, integrity. That, if all summed up, all really mean love and happiness. When I asked him about what he wanted people to take away from his memorial, he emphatically said, "Be happy." Be happy for him in this celebration of life. And that by all of us being happy, it will make for a better world. As he would say at the close of our phone conversations, I'll let you get back to happiness. Yes, Ken, we are happy to be here for you, and we love you. God bless you. At this time, we'd like to have any of the family members who like to speak to share their reminiscences as well about Dad or Grandpa. And you have all the time that you want. We're here for you. Please come on up.
Okay, I'm the oldest. I'm Victoria. My granddaughter's laughing at me, bless you. Okay, so I have known for a few weeks that I was going to talk today, and so of course, I'm thinking I need to come up with some stories or something interesting. So this morning, I'm laying in bed trying to figure out what I am possibly gonna say. So it isn't there's no stories. I'm just going to say that 61 years of having my dad, I have a million stories, but I don't want to share any of them. Sorry. Take it. Yes, my dad always said, be happy, smile. So I will try to remember that. Not today maybe, but going forward. My dad had lots of advice. As you probably all know, he was good with giving advice. He always told me that I never listened to his advice. I would have to say that I always listened to it, and then I did what I thought was best, whether it was right or wrong. And he probably was more right than I ever was, but I always did what I thought was best, and I think that's how he raised me. I did write down some stuff. I don't know why, because I can't really read it. So, my dad did always say to be happy, and I struggled with that, I guess, but I'll try to remember that. I know that my dad lives on in me and my kids and my grandkids, so he'll always be with me. And Dad, you do still owe me a lunch, so I will see you later, and I will love you always. I did find a really kind of sweet poem that I think kind of sums things up a little bit. So I will try to read that to you. Again, I can't really see it very well, and I don't have it memorized. Not organized like my dad, I think, so thank you. If you're wondering where to find me, I'll tell you where I'll be. In that in-between bit, that space where sky meets sea. In the whispers of the trees and the edges of your dreams, close enough to almost touch, but slightly out of reach. I'm in the moon and in the stars, but never really far, and always, always, I'm there inside your heart. And I will carry my dad always. Right there. Thank you. Oh, and thank you everybody for coming. On behalf of my mom, I'll say thank you from all of us, okay?
I'm Becky, I'm the youngest, and I am prepared, but I can't read it. I just wanted to say that there are a few things that remind me of my dad: his colorful socks, his cowboy boots, neckties and bow ties, and good-smelling cologne. See, you all know that. My dad was always patient with me, teaching me. He taught me how to ride my bike, how to drive a car. He wasn't mad when I ran the car out of gas, just showed me what to do and said, please don't do that again. I haven't. He showed me how to change a flat tire. I knew how to do that, but I had a flat tire on the side of the highway and I couldn't get the lug nuts off. So he came to help, and he got them off except for one, and we couldn't get that off, so we ended up calling a tow truck. But he said I did good, so I was happy with that. He just taught me a lot of life lessons that I will carry with me forever, and I hope that I show my children the same. He was always happiest around his family. He watched The Little Mermaid more than 100 times with my oldest, Stephanie. He came to every game that he could of Lily's volleyball game and cheered her and her team on. And it was just wonderful to watch. He read his grandkids' stories, and they listened with eager ears, and they would repeat if he missed a word and say, nope, you missed that. What about that word? So he has his whole family that will remember him forever and keep him going. And those are just a few things that remind me of my dad, and he will be in my heart forever. Thank you.
I'm Cassie. I'm Ken's #1 granddaughter. So I can only say that because I'm the oldest granddaughter. But he would always call me his #1 granddaughter. The fact that I'm even up here is crazy because this is not my cup of tea at all. But a story that just kind of makes me smile about my grandpa is he would always just say, do you remember when he walked me home from the hospital when I was born? Because he did. I was like probably 2 days old, and he walked me home from the hospital. And he would always ask me about that, and I would just laugh at him and be like, of course not. Like, I was 2 days old. But I just feel like that to him was a really special thing that he could do. And I feel fortunate to have been with him for as long as I have got to, and that my daughter's got to know him too, and she loves him. So, yeah, and I'll go with what everyone else is saying about the be happy and just smile, because that's what he wanted for us. So, yeah, I'm just really gonna miss him, but I have a lot of memories, so I'm thankful for that.
Thank you for your your thoughts, your comments. And thank you again, everyone, for attending today. If you have not yet signed the register, please make sure you do that, and also fill out a memory card. They are distributed throughout the lobby and foyer and below. If you'd please join us after the service now in the dining area downstairs for refreshments, and there is an elevator access nearby should anyone require that. I just want to say again to Jeanette, family, we love you. As has been stated before, the entire Masonic family is here for you now and forever. Ken's last words were always, keep smiling, be happy. Thank you. And if our ushers would please proceed to the front, and we'll row by row be dismissed. Thank you again, everyone.